Hey, Abdul, tell him to step over this fucking pile, okay? Hey, Long, step over this pile, alright? Don't step over these don't step on these rocks.
Sorry, Steve, you hear me?
Phone number, India,
Hey,
Charlie.
hey, can you hear me? You breathing?
5.
Hey, can you hear me?
8.
Hey, buddy, you're gonna be alright, okay?
05.
Just keep talking to me, okay?
There are a lot of veterans out there that don't get help. The national veteran suicide average is 22 a day. We lose 22 people a day, not to war, but to the fact that they're still fighting on the inside. Not a lot of people understand what veterans go through. They don't see soldiers as regular people who serve their country, which is what really they are. They're your neighbors. We minimize the things that we go through, and we compare our stories to other stories, when the truth of the matter is that we are all veterans and we all went through something. In a lot of cases, we shared those experiences together. So telling that story helps bridge that gap between a civilian life and your military life. What's special about the Lionhearted project is that it's not just a piece of art. It's not just a movie. It's not just a website. These are stories, and these stories are going to live on forever. These stories are going to be seen by multitudes of people in the art museum, online, social media. That's what makes this truly special. We're giving veterans a platform to tell their stories and to continue to tell their stories far into the future.
We were in Korea. It was Camp Hyale. It was an army base. I remember waking up, walking out to the living room, and I see my parents sit on TV. They were crying and bawling.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
We didn't go to school for like 2 days. We ended up going to school and my teachers explained to us what went down. And they said, we're going to war. I remember feeling emotional. Like, I was very young. I knew that was a big thing. I knew it was big. I knew it was big enough to be like worried about it. I didn't know what the Marine Corps was at the time. I knew that I needed to join. I think it's for every Marine. The specific moment that stood out for me was that my drill instructor handed me my Eagle Globe and Anchor, and he held it in my hand, I squeezed it. And I was like, I felt so empowered. Like, I felt like I could do anything. This group of people I was with, we cared more about each other than we did about anybody else.
Gotcha.
Like, I thought about my family quite a bit, but anything that happened, I would care more about them than me. These are the people that I've only seen at their best, you know what I mean? Like, they're smiling, laughing, joking about how much this shit sucks. The day it got real was June 20th, 2014, approximately 7:30 in the morning. That was my 20th birthday. I remember I was like half asleep in the back of my truck. One of the machine gunners started firing. Lit up a long burst, like 18, 20 rounds, something like that, maybe even more. I tried to walk out to the back of the truck. Little did I know it was a car driving with 600 pounds of explosives in the vehicle.
Are you good? Are you good? Yeah, I'm good.
Every extremity was bleeding except for my eyes. We were opening the doors, going outside, and I see everybody crawling out of vehicles. The vehicles are like burnt up and shit, and dudes are like bleeding and shit. I think it was mainly the fact that my friends were hurt and that fucking got to me. I didn't care about me, I cared about them more. I didn't talk about it for a while, I could not talk to anybody about it. But it's after a while, as I started talking about it, is when shit felt better. Getting it off my chest. I may have an experience that could possibly save someone's life. It's just like a fucking cup of water. Like, you can only fill it up so much before that bitch starts to overflow. When it overflows, what's gonna happen when it flows? Sometimes it's good to take that cup of water and just put that water where it needs to be. Plant something, put it in something good.
Either came home like in one piece or you just came home like fucking in a bag. This was never for me like an expectation, but I pretty much accepted like, at this point, like fucking, if we're gonna do it, let's ride this train. I joined the Army in 2003. It was 2 years after the terror attacks. I went to college for a little bit to go and kind of be a teacher. And my twin was like, hey, I think I'm gonna go to the Army. And I was like, I'll go with you, kind of do our thing or serve our country. But we're from such a small town, a small area. Like if you don't leave, you're never leaving, you know what I mean? So it was a chance to get out and kind of see the world. I did the whole infantry thing, and then we both actually I went to selection before he did for Green Berets, and then he went like a couple months after, so he does the Green Beret thing now. But 05, it was still like free gun, like, hey, like ROE is pretty much like out the fucking window, like cell phones, you got binos, like it's game on. Yeah, you had up armored Humvees and shit, but like we were riding around, from positions in the back of like open fucking back MRE, pickups. I think at one point we were driving on a patrol and an IED went off, and it went off a little too early. Some shrapnel hit the front of the Humvee, dust and shit's like blowing in there and everything, and everybody's coughing, I'm in the gunner's hatch, and I just laughing, you know what I mean? Like, that point, you're like, fuck it, dude, if you're gonna do this, you might as well fucking take me all. I think that was like, you know what, like, this is it, and I enjoyed every fucking minute of it. Yeah, is it nice to, like, go out and not have shit happen sometimes? Yeah, of course, but, like, you don't want every day to be like that. Like, what's the fucking point? I signed up to do, be one of the better fucking jobs there is, or, one of the best. Like, I want to fucking prove that shit. I don't go to the range to fucking spend, 5,000 rounds in a fucking day to not go shoot at real shit later on. You shoot paper all fucking day. There's a difference when shit's moving though. It's fun.
Yeah.
But we were pretty much done with the whole patrol. Like coming back, and I could literally see the fucking MRAPs and shit in the trailers, like probably 400 meters away. And the next thing I knew, like I was in fucking Texas. Like I woke up in Texas. Apparently, like, EOD had missed it and everything. Everybody had walked across it. The side-by-side must have just been too heavy, and it had set it off. So I woke up in Texas, and I asked my wife, I was like, hey, you know, like, how is everybody else? And she's like, well, you know, Cody had like a brain injury, and then Rich, who was in the passenger seat, he was our other Bravo, it had went off under him and basically had blown him 30 meters out and kind of severed him in half. And he was really close with my family. So that was kind of hard to deal with. I'm not one of those people that has survivor's guilt. I try to just do shit that I feel like would respect his memory. Continue to live life, continue to keep doing shit, and just like set the standard for how shit should be. It's not like the same mentality across the board. You know what I mean? And I think people are gonna get a real insight into that. Like, I'm getting a chance to tell my story, but like how I want to tell it. I get to be so open and like actually who I am. You know what I mean? Like my crazy ass personality, like I'm not having to refrain from doing anything. I'm just like, let go.
Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come. Here we come.
When you're transitioning, they tell you, like, they put you in these classes and they're like, oh, well, you know, this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen, and you're sitting there like, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, like, it's not gonna happen to me. Right when I got out, we had 3 guys commit suicide, like back to back, and that hit me like super hard. I was just really fucking mad. Violence used to be on our front door all the time. Fuck you! And the fact that we send guys to just go experience violence and then they come back and have to deal with people who don't believe in it at all, I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, here it comes.
God damn it!
Oh, shit! Holy shit! Man, that shit fucking went right over the fucking roof.
I think it's great that people are like happy and ignore it here in America sometimes, but it kind of makes you upset that they're so masked off to reality.
Welcome home, soldier.
Troops in Iraq, their job, of course, is to complete the mission. Their hope is to come home. For some, the journey back is full of setbacks and unwelcome surprises. For some, they wind up homeless.
I've done a lot of like veterans projects where I try to make sure that like people find help or they can make money. There are certain ways that you can like make it better for yourself individually, but ultimately it's like for the country. I guess I get really emotional when it comes to it because I like helping them and I like making sure that they're okay. To me, that's more important. Like you're a part of the bigger picture and it's not like self-serving.
I had some very defining moments as a pararescueman. In 2010, I was the NCOIC of a detachment of pararescuemen in Afghanistan. We were basically there to provide CSAR for the larger aspect of the entire OEF. We were stationed out of Bagram, but we would go to different areas, and there was an operation going on called Bulldog Bite 2 Charlie. It was an Army operation where the 101st Airborne were raiding insurgent training camps in the Waterpur Valley. Basically, they sent in a couple hundred guys with CH-47s on the top of these mountains, and this is like 7,000 feet elevation. And they were going to drop them at the top of these things and basically move down the mountainside and move to contact, like reconnaissance by fire, and go through these training camps and look for a fight. And they definitely found a fight. Our radios work, 10 miles or so with the frequencies that we were using and the terrain that we were in. And because of this, I could hear everything that was going on in the ground. Like, they're talking in brevity codes, and you can tell that they're absolutely beside themselves with horror. They're getting fucking mutilated. The voice changed 2 or 3 times, which meant the guy that was talking on the radio was either killed or had been shot or incapacitated. You're just like, fuck, like, we're going. If we hadn't hoisted into that, everybody would have been fucking killed. My partner and I were on the ground for 2.5, 3 hours with those guys. We were overrun, and it went to hand-to-hand fighting. That night, 4 guys died in my arms, but I was able to save 4. We only had 1 helicopter left because they were so, fucked up. And so we hoisted up. I think we had 5 killed in action in the helicopter, 4 PJs, and an A&A interpreter with his leg blown off, all in the back of a Pave Hawk. And I was the last guy to get hoisted, and so I didn't have anywhere else to sit but on top of the dead bodies. It was 4 dead Americans just fucking mutilated, dismembered, and we have to pull them out of the fucking helicopter and try to figure out what fucking shit goes in what body bag. We were trying to do it with discretion because they're fucking buddies. Like, their buddies are watching us, man, I laid on my back and I started crying, and then we got an immediate call to go back out. I said to myself, I'm like, this is where the problems begin. Like, this is fucked up. This is where it happens. This is where we kind of see the tiger smile, is what the Vietnam vets said. Have you seen the tiger smile? Because I'm not being allowed to process this. The really insidious nature of the aftermath of combat is you really isolate yourself from the ones that you love. You distance yourself from your wife, your children, because you don't feel like you can identify with them, and you don't want them to be concerned about you. You don't want them to realize that I'm waking up with fucking nightmares about people dying in my fucking arms. And it's like, you don't want them to have to fucking deal with that. The minute that you stop rebelling against that and you embrace it is how you start sailing home to yourself. There's something very powerful about telling our stories. Which you guys, that's this fucking project, is telling our fucking story. That is catharsis, because it helps us come back to ourselves. It gives us perspectives of, what does my fucking story even mean? All this horrific shit that I've been talking about, what value does it fucking have? Because me in my fucking dark dungeon-ass garage, it means fucking nothing. But if the rest of the world can understand that, it closes the narrative of what a combat veteran is, because we're fucking lost. There's no place, there's no meaningful articulation of our stories. People want to talk about courage. That's fucking courage. We can derive whatever meaning we have from our lives through that. But you have to be a willing participant in that. And that takes courage, it takes risk to do that.
This is a project that can grow and reach far more people than a piece of art hanging in one location. You don't have to have gone through what this other person went through. And realizing that you have this huge community of veterans that have all gone through different things, and they've all experienced something in the same way. When I finally unlocked that box, I realized how many other people are sitting out there because they don't feel what they went through is worthy of them going to get help. Being a veteran is part of being something, and it's a brotherhood that I pushed away for the longest time until I finally realized that why suppress that when you could find all this help within your own community that you were in. All it takes is one glimmer of hope. When you're sitting there thinking, I'm done, I am going to end it, that's it. It takes one seed of hope. And I'm hoping that this could be that.
If you leave me to my own device, I never have to compromise. The city is like a jungle, gotta make it mine. Put my fears right out of sight. Beat the hustle, better get it right. In a game where the strong survive. Only the strong survive. Your chains will not hold me down. The break and fall to the ground. Can't tame these lions inside. The power is raining like thunder, ready for a fight. These lions inside. These lions inside. These lions inside. These lions inside. I had to learn to be the hero. I started on a heaven zero. In a city like a jungle, I had to get mine. Never give, you gotta take. Be the catapult to storm the gates. Cause the champion is never giving in. See you through till the end of days. Till the end of days. Your chains will not hold me down. The break and fall to the ground. Can't tame these lions inside. The power is raining like thunder, ready for a fight. These lions inside. These lions inside. Can't tame these lions inside. Can't tame these lions inside. The ground that they're walking ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey to the bitter end. The ground that they're walking ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey to the bitter end. The ground that they're walking ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey. Let the games begin.